Hello everyone. Today I'll begin with the second poem of Alfred Lord Tennyson, and the poem is Break, Break, Break. Now this poem is one of the finest lyrics of Tennyson, one which has found its way in most anthologies of Victorian poetry. First published in the volume Poems in the year 1842, it was inspired by the death of the poet's friend Arthur Hallam in 1833. The scene of the poem is Claverdon Church, situated on a lonely hill overlooking the Bristol Channel. In this church is buried Arthur Hallam. However, this elegiac lyric was actually composed by the poet walking at night in the lanes near Somersby, though in the poem he imagines himself sitting on the grave of his friend and surveying the scene around. This short elegy is the true record of the emotions of the poet during the dark winter months that followed the death of Hallam. Now, what is an elegy? Elegy is a poem of serious reflection written in honor of someone deceased. It laments the death of the individual. So here he laments the death of his friend Arthur Hallam. This poem is an outpouring of Tennyson's poignant and intense grief. It comes direct from the heart of the poet and so goes direct to the heart of the readers. It is opined that it must rank forever among the most poignant elegiac lyrics in the English language. Now I'll just read out the poem to you. It is a short poem indeed of 16 lines, and there are 4 stanzas of 4 lines each. The poem is addressed to the sea. The poet says, "Break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea. And I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay. And the stately ships go on to their heaven under the hill. But oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. Break, break, break at the foot of thy crags, O sea. But the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me." Now I'll quickly summarize the development of thought in this poem, and then I'll take up this poem stanza-wise. The waves of the sea are rising and falling, as if sharing the grief of the poet. They strike their head against the rocky shore and break into water drops. The waves of the sea, like the poet himself, remain helpless in conveying their grief to the shore. The poet observes that human life goes on as usual. The stately ship come into the harbour and go out of it as usual, and the children are shouting joyfully at their game. However, neither the sympathy of nature nor the throb and zest of life around him can serve to lessen his grief. His sorrow is too deep for words. His friend is dead, and he will never again hear his voice, nor touch his hand, nor feel the tender touch of his presence. The pleasure which he enjoyed in his company will never be his again. That's all for today's lesson, and in the next lecture I'll take up the poem stanza-wise, dealing with the meanings of the words as well as the explanation of these stanzas one by one. Thank you.